Commander Thexgar flexed his 6 arms, each movement causing the biometallic plating along his exoskeleton to shift with predatory grace. Around him, the bridge of the dreadnought Bone Harvest thrummed with the nervous energy of his crew. They had just dropped out of hyperspace, at the edge of a star system that the galactic databases listed as sole home to a recently discovered species called humans. For 12 million years, the Kethmori had ruled through fear. Their empire stretched across 47 sectors, and no species had ever successfully resisted their conquest. They were evolution's perfect predators, adaptive biology that could survive in any environment, technology that merged flesh with machine, and a hive mind that eliminated the weaknesses of individual thought. Where the Kethmori went, civilizations knelt or burned. Scan results incoming commander, his tactical officer hissed through modified vocal cords. The third planet shows signs of industrial civilization, approximately 8 billion individuals. Thexgar's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. 8 billion would provide excellent biomass for the harvesting pools. Standard approach. Deploy terror drones first. Let them witness their helplessness before we begin the collection. But as the first wave of drones entered Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. The humans didn't flee. They didn't broadcast desperate pleas for mercy, as every other species had done. Instead, their electromagnetic spectrum erupted with coordinated activity. Commander, the sensor operator's voice carried a note of confusion. The prey is responding. On the main display, Thexgar watched as human aircraft rose to meet his drones. The ships were primitive, by Kethmori standards, metal and chemical propulsion instead of biomechanical fusion. Yet somehow, they were keeping pace with his technology. Impossible, Thexgar growled. Deploy the second wave. Full-spectrum psychological warfare. The Kethmori had perfected the art of breaking civilizations before physical conquest began. Their broadcasts could induce madness. Their bioweapons could rewrite DNA to create monsters from a species' own children, and their reality distortion fields could make entire populations believe their loved ones had never existed. But the humans absorbed it all and kept fighting. Dr. Sarah Chen crouched in the underground bunker beneath ENORAD, watching data streams flow across her screens. Around her, military officers and scientists worked with the focused intensity of people who knew extinction was a real possibility. The psychological warfare isn't working, reported Colonel Martinez. It's like they don't understand how human minds actually function. Sarah nodded, making rapid calculations. They're using a hive mind approach to psychological warfare. They're trying to break us the way they'd break themselves by targeting collective consciousness. But humans don't work that way. The irony wasn't lost on her. The very trait that had made humans the galaxy's newcomers, their stubborn individualism, was now their greatest defense against a species that had conquered the galaxy by exploiting collective thinking. "Ma'am," a technician called out, "we're getting something weird from the orbital defense platforms. The alien ships are. They're hesitating." Above the planet, Thexgar stared at his tactical displays in growing disbelief. His crews were reporting impossible things, human fighters that fought with strategies that adapted faster than his predictive algorithms could compensate for. Human soldiers who, when separated from their command structure, didn't collapse into confusion, but instead fought with even greater unpredictability. They fight like each individual is its own species, his bioanalyst reported. Every human responds differently to identical stimuli. Our tactical systems can't compute enough variables to predict their behavior. Then the humans did something that had never happened in 12 million years of Kethmori conquest. They counterattacked. Not just defensively, but with the kind of coordinated assault that spoke of preparation and planning. Human ships that shouldn't have been able to reach orbit were somehow appearing around his fleet, using gravitational slingshots and chemical rockets to achieve impossible velocities. How? Thexgar demanded as his shields absorbed impacts from projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. How are they generating this much kinetic energy with primitive technology? The answer came from an intercepted human transmission, automatically translated by his ship's systems. This is General Harrison. All units execute Operation Hail Mary. I repeat, we are throwing everything we have at these bastards. Hail Mary. The translation system provided context, a desperate attempt with little chance of success, named after a human religious concept involving impossible intercession. But as Thexgar watched, the desperate attempt was working. Human ships packed with nuclear weapons were ramming his vessels with suicidal precision. Human ground forces were using their own destroyed cities as improvised weapons platforms. And somehow, incredibly, they were winning. "Sir," his communications officer reported, voice trembling, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface." From their leadership. "Put it through." The hologram that appeared showed a middle-aged human female in military uniform, standing in what appeared to be a damaged command center. Behind her, Thexgar could see other humans working with mechanical precision despite obvious injuries. "I am General Rebecca Torres, Supreme Commander of United Earth Defense Forces," the human said calmly. "I'm transmitting to inform you that your invasion has failed. Our analysis of your tactics suggests that you've never encountered effective resistance before. Let me explain why that's about to change." The general gestured to something off-screen, and the display filled with data that made Thexgar's exoskeleton contract in alarm. Detailed tactical analyses of Kethmori technology, weak points identified in their ship designs, and most impossibly biographical data on Thexgar himself. "You see," General Torres continued, "humans have a saying, know your enemy. While you were busy being feared, we were busy learning. Our first radio telescopes detected your empire 8 decades ago. We've been preparing for this moment ever since." The transmission showed images of massive underground installations, orbital weapons platforms, hidden in asteroid fields, and fleets of ships that had been constructed in the dark side of Earth's moon. "Here's what's going to happen," Torres said. "You're going to retreat. You're going to inform the rest of your empire that Earth is off-limits. And you're going to reconsider whether fear is really the most effective tool of conquest when your prey might just decide to become the predator." As if to emphasize her point, Thexgar's sensors detected massive energy signatures throughout the solar system. The humans hadn't just been defending, they had been laying a trap. For the first time in 12 million years, a Kethmori commander gave the order to retreat. As the bone harvest limped toward hyperspace, Thexgar reflected on what he had learned. The galaxy's most feared species had finally met their match, not in another predator, but in prey that refused to act like prey. The humans, he realized, might just be the most dangerous species in the galaxy. And they were just getting started.